자, 오늘은 비트코인 블록체인의 가장 베이직한 수학적 원리 중에 하나인 타원곡선 암호화, 영어로 elliptic curve cryptography라는 것에 대해서 한번 살펴보겠습니다. 우선 이 elliptic curve cryptography, 영어로는 ECC라고 합니다. ECC를 하기 전에 우리가 크립토그래피, 암호화에 대해서 잠깐 살펴보겠습니다. 이 암호화는 한마디로 Communications in the presence of adversaries에서 적이 있는 상황에서 통신을 하는 데서 시작이 된 겁니다. 고대에서부터. 그래서 고대 시대, 특히 그리스 스파르타에서 BC 450년경에 스키테일 사이퍼라는 게 있었습니다. 이렇게 두루마리에다가 동물 가죽에다가 이렇게 글씨를 쓰는데 여기 뚫뚫 말아가지고 뚫뚫 말기 전에는 그냥 뭐 임의의 캐릭터만 쭉 있는데 이거를 말면 읽을 수 있게 이렇게 되는 겁니다. 그래서 이제 전장에 나가는 사람하고 우리가 이제 전쟁 본부에서 미리 이제 두루마리 요거에 사이즈라든지 이런 거를 챙겨 놓는 거죠. 그래서 이 전령이 이거를 막 가져가서 이제 주면 중간에서 뺏기더라도 이게 무슨 말인지 읽을 수가 없는데 이걸 뚫뚫 말아서 보면 이제 글자가 읽혀진다, 그런 얘기입니다. 그래서 요거를 어떤 사람이 인터넷에서 재현해 놓은 게 있어서 잠깐 한번 보도록 하겠습니다. 이렇게 뚫뚫 이제 말아서 근데 이제 글자를 쓴다는 거죠. 이렇게 해서. I want to meet you at the bridge. I want to meet you at the bridge. Come soon. 연애 편지라는 거죠. 그래서 이거를 이렇게 펴보면 이제 글자가 뭔지 알 수가 없는데 이거를 이제 말면 이제 글자를 읽을 수 있다는 거죠. 그리고 고대 스파르타에서 스키테일 사이퍼를 사용한 그런 기록들이 있고 이 이제 문헌들이 현존하고 있다는 겁니다. 그런데 이거는 이제 철자가 몇 개씩 이렇게 건너뛰는 그런 영향이 있는 거죠. 그래서 현대에 오면서 이제 뭐 이 암호화 기술이 많이 발전하는데 이제 오늘 집중적으로 하나 살펴볼 게 2차 대전 때 에니그마 머신이라고 해서 아주 유명한, 여러분들이 많이 들어봤을 수도 있는데 에니그마 머신이라고 2차 대전 때 나치가 사용했던 겁니다. 그러니까 히틀러가 유보트 내로 이렇게 이제 메시지를 전할 때 이게 썼다는 거죠. 모양은 이렇게 생겼어요. 이렇게 생겼는데 사이즈는 타이프라이터 사이즈 정도 돼요. 과거에 여러분들 타이프라이터 우리가 많이 쓰지 않습니까? 오늘날로 말하면 좀 큰 노트북 정도 사이즈는, 높이는 물론 더 큽니다만은 이렇게 생긴 그 에니그마 머신이 있었는데 이것이 이제 최근에 와서 1970년대 이후에 이거를 asymmetric cryptography라고 그래서 비대칭 암호화 기술이라고 합니다. 그리고 여기서 이제 에니그마 머신 같은 경우는 암호화를 할 때나 그 다음에 그거를 디코딩, 복호화 할 때도 동일한 키를, 동일한 비밀번호를 썼다는 겁니다. 그래서 비밀번호 하나만 알면 중간에서 하나 갈아채면 그걸 해독할 수 있었던 거죠. 그게 결국 2차 대전 때 연합군, 특히 영국 그 과학자들에 의해서 이제 해독이 돼버려서 2차 대전이 연합군의 승리로 이끌게 되는데, 이것이 이제 오늘날은 우리가 블록체인도 마찬가지고, 오늘날 우리가 은행 거래 같은 데서 쓰는 게 전부 다 비대칭 암호화라고 그래서 암호화 할 때, 인코딩 할 때 쓰는 키하고 디코딩 할 때 쓰는, 복호화 할 때 쓰는 키를 다르게 가져가는 겁니다. 그렇게 하면 중간에서 설사 이것이 유출되더라도 이게 보안이 유지될 수 있다는 겁니다. 그래서 이러한 기술에 대해서 이번 시간에 깊이 한번 살펴볼 예정인데, 먼저 이런 거 비대칭 암호화, 비대칭 암호화라는 것은 이 키를 퍼블릭 키하고 프라이빗 키 두 개를 가지고 말하자면 프라이빗 키는 내만 아는 아주 비밀번호인 겁니다. 요거를 가지고 이제 쓰는데, 요 기술이 나오기까지의 그 백그라운드 지식이라든지 이런 것들을 공부를 한번 해보겠습니다. 요걸 하기 전에 우선 에니그마 머신이라고 아주 획기적인 기술이었어요. 그래서 2차 대전 초기에 그 독일이 승승장구할 수 있었던 것이 이제 이 에니그마 머신의 덕택이라고 할 수 있는데, 요거에 대해서 한번 깊이 살펴보도록 하겠습니다. 이거는 에니그마 머신은 이제 그 1차 대전 직후 독일 전기공학자, 영어로는 뭐 아서라고 읽혀지는데 독일어는 아르투어라고, 독일 사람이라서 아르투어 셔르비우스라는 사람이 1918년에 이 기계를 발명을 해요. 그런데 이게 실제로 이제 2차 대전 때 아주 혁혁한 공을 세우게 되는 거죠. 요거는 2인 1조로 사용이 되는데, 한 사람이 키보드를 치고 다른 한 사람은 램프 글자를 받았습니다. 그러니까 본부에서 오는 그 메시지를 하기 위해서 한 사람이 요 키보드를 이제 그대로 치면 이게 이제 모르스 부호로겠죠. 그러면 그걸 듣고 치면 그에 램프 불이 켜지는데 그 램프 불을 이제 한 사람이 받았어요. 그렇게 해서 메시지를 주고받는 겁니다. 그 에니그마 머신의 구성을 보면 키보드가 26개, 그 알파벳 26, 그 다음에 램프 보드가 이제 26개가 있고, 그 다음에 플러그 보드라는 게 있고, 로터라는 게 있습니다. 부처적으로 한번 살펴보겠습니다. 그래서 이 에니그마 머신을 해킹을 하려고 그러면 중간에서 패스워드를 빼내려고 하면 이 경우의 수가 엄청나게 많아요. 그래서 이게 1회 5818경 가지수를 다 해봐야 돼요. 그리고 그 당시로 임팔섭을 한 거죠. 그런데 이거를 영국 측에서 해독을 한 겁니다. 영국의 아주 브릴리언트한 그 과학자들이 이거를 해독을 해요. 그래서 이거는 이제 디코딩 원리 이런 거는 곧 설명을 하겠는데, 우선 요 기계부터 먼저 한번 보고 얘기를 하겠습니다. 이것도 유튜브 영상들인데 한번 먼저 보겠습니다.
The Enigma machine was used to encrypt and decrypt messages. You can think of this as a very sophisticated letter scrambler. It was invented in the early 1900s, and then most famously, it was used by the German military in the 1930s and throughout World War II.
이게 키보드고,
This is the keyboard with 26 letters. And this is the lamp board, which also has 26 letters, but these letters can light up. Each time you press a letter on the keyboard, a letter on the lamp board lights up, but it will always be a different letter than the one that was pressed. There are usually two people involved when the machine is used. One person to type in the letters, and another person to write down the letters that appear on the lampboard. Let's use our example from earlier. Type in each letter and write down the letters that appear on the lampboard. Now we have our encrypted message, the scrambled letters that nobody can read. This message is sent usually by radio using Morse code. The person who receives this message also has their own Enigma machine. To decrypt the message or unscramble it, they type in the letters on the keyboard and write down which letters appear on the whiteboard, and out comes the original message. The Enigma machine was used for both encryption and decryption. The person sending the message needs a machine, and the person receiving the message also needs a machine to be able to read it again. So how does the Enigma machine know which letters to give you? Maybe you press an A and out comes an H. How does it do that? Well, part of the answer is electricity. Let me show you a simple example. We have a battery, some wires, and then something that uses electricity. In this case, a light bulb. This is called a circuit. It's a closed loop for the electricity to flow. But if there's a break in the wire, then the light bulb turns off. If we put a switch in here, now we can easily turn the light bulb on or off. There has to be a complete path for the electricity to flow. Now let's add another path, one more switch and a light bulb. Now we can turn on two different light bulbs. Depending on which switch we turn on, there's a different path through the wires. We could expand this even more switches and more light bulbs. Now this is predictable. We know which switch goes to which light bulb. But what if we scramble these wires? Now the switch for the letter A turns on the letter C light bulb, and the C switch turns on the B light bulb. This idea of scrambling the wires, that's how the Enigma machine works. Let me show you on the real thing. The battery is inside in the top right-hand corner of the machine. The keyboard has 26 keys. When you press one of them, it connects a circuit which will then turn on one of these 26 light bulbs. The light bulbs will then illuminate the letter that's directly above it on the light board. When you release the key, the circuit is disconnected and the light bulb turns off. Each key connects a different path, which means a different light bulb. Okay, this is the challenging part of the video, understanding the circuit, or the path that the electricity follows throughout the Enigma machine. Maybe pause the video, get your degree in electrical engineering, and then let's do this. The three main parts that we need to understand are the rotors, the keyboard mechanism, and the plug board. Let's start up here with the rotors. This machine has three of them. This is where the letters get scrambled. Let's take a look at one of the rotors. You have the numbers 1 through 26 for all the letters. So 1 is for A, 2 is for B, 3 is for C, and all the way around until 26 for Z. On the side, you'll see 26 metal contact points. There are also 26 on the other side too. When you put two of these rotors together, the metal contacts connect, making it possible for electricity to pass through. On the inside of these three rotors, you'll find lots of wires that connects the two sides. But as you can see, it's all scrambled. So let's go through the pin for the number 1. Follow the wire through, and it comes out the pin for the number 4. So in this case, an A was changed to a D. When electricity travels through one rotor, it changes the letter once. But remember, we have 3 of these rotors, and they each have different wirings on the inside. When electricity travels through all 3 of them, it changes the letter 3 times. Then at the end, we have the reflector. This also has 26 metal contacts. Inside is more wiring that connects the letters in pairs. So it goes in as one letter and then comes out as another letter. To the right of here is the input wheel. It has 26 wires that go in and connects to the 26 metal contacts. Let's put this all together. Electricity flows through one of the 26 wires. Let's say the wire for the letter Y. Then it gets changed to a different letter at all 3 rotors. Then it hits the reflector, which again changes the letter. And then it goes back through the rotors again, which changes the letter 3 more times. And it comes back out on a wire that represents a completely different letter. And if you were counting, this means the letter was changed 7 times. Now, this is just an example of how the letters could get scrambled, but the path can and will change. Each of these 3 rotors can rotate to 26 different positions. When any one of the rotors changes positions, this will also change the path of electricity, making it very difficult to predict which letters are going to come out. The 26 wires from the input wheel travel down the right side of the machine to the plug board in the very front. Now, the plug board was yet another way that the letters could be switched around. Specifically, you could swap 2 letters. So let's say we want to switch the W and the J. You could take one of these cables here with plugs at each end and put one of them into the W spot and the other one in the J spot. On the back side of the plug board, you can see the individual wires going to the tops of each socket and then out to the bottom of each socket. Let's take a closer look. This is the plug board socket for the letter O. If nothing is plugged into it, the electricity flows in through the top, then through the shorting bar, and then out through the bottom. This means that the plug board didn't change the letter. It came in as the letter O, and then it came out as the letter O. When a plug is inserted, it pushes up the shorting bar, so it doesn't connect anymore. Now the electricity flows in through the top, out through the top pin of the plug, then through the cable, and out through the bottom on the other side. What came in as an O now comes out as an E. Oftentimes they would use up to 10 of these cables. Notice how a few of these letters are still left without a plug. Let's take a look at the keyboard mechanism. Each of these keys is connected to a long stem beneath it. They have springs that push them back up when you release the key. The last row of keys have the springs connected at the top. Right next to all of these keys, most of the space is taken up. These are the 26 key switches. These switches are a little bit more complex than just the on-off switches that we saw earlier. Let's take a look at just one of the switches. This one is for the letter P. The switch has 3 different copper-colored tabs. The wires are connected back here, and the flow of electricity is controlled from the other end. When a key is pressed, it comes down and hits the rubber end of the middle tab. What this does is changes where the electricity can flow. Before a key is pressed, the top 2 tabs are connected, and after the key is pressed, the bottom 2 tabs are connected. There are 26 key switches, and here's all the wires that are connected to them. The top tabs are connected to the light bulbs. The wires go to the left and up to the corresponding 26 light bulbs. The middle tabs connect to the plug board. They go through the wires to the right side of the machine and down to the corresponding letters on the plug board. A wire from the battery goes directly into the bottom tabs of each key switch. So each switch has 3 different tabs and 3 different places where they are connected to. Before a key is pressed, the bottom tab isn't connected to anything, so the electricity has nowhere to go. This is true for all 26 key switches. No circuit, which means all the light bulbs are off. Now let's say we press the X key. The battery and the plug board are now connected. This completes a circuit, but it's not as simple as the circuit we saw earlier. Let me show you a quick overview of the path of electricity. Don't worry if you can't keep up quite yet. We're going to go over each part one by one. Let's take a closer look at each step. Electricity flows from the battery to the bottom and then middle tab on the switch for the letter X. Then it goes directly to the plug board, and in this case there's nothing plugged in for the letter X, so it comes back out as the letter X, up the side and into the input wheel, then through 3 rotors, the reflector, and then back through the rotors again, changing letters at each step of the way. What started as the letter X is now the letter K. Now we come back to the plug board for the second time. The letter K is swapped with a C. So in through the letter K, through the cord, and and then out for the letter C. Then travels from the plug board back to the middle tab on the letter C key switch. Remember, we started as the letter X, but then came back in as the letter C. Then it goes out the wire of the top tab and up to the letter C light bulb. Then the current flows through the metal light bulb plate to this tiny wire which connects back to the battery. This completes our circuit. As soon as the key is released, no more circuit and the light bulb turns off. So just to recap, once a key is pressed, electricity goes from the battery to whichever key switch was pressed. Then the plug board, rotors, then back to the plug board, then the key switch for our new scrambled letter, then the corresponding light bulb, and then back to the battery. The letter is changed 7 times at the rotors, and then possibly 2 more times at the plug board. Remember that the letter isn't always changed when it goes to the plug board. Okay, the electric circuit was the hard part of the video. If you made it this far, we're doing good, but there's a little bit more that I want to show you. Each time a key is pressed, you'll notice that at least one of these 3 rotors will turn. Press a key, rotor turns. Press a key, rotor turns. This means that if you press a key twice, you'll get 2 different letters. In fact, if you keep pressing the same letter, a different light turns on every time. This is what made Enigma so powerful. The code was always changing, so it was hard to predict which letters were going to come out. The way these rotors spin is completely mechanical. No electricity needed for this. Even if the battery was taken out, pressing one of these keys would still turn the rotor. On the bottom of the machine is a large metal plate called the actuator bar. It works like a seesaw or a teeter-totter. Pressing any of the keys pushes it down on this side, which pushes it up on the other side. Around the back side is where the magic happens. This uses a ratchet and pawl mechanism. This is the ratchet gear, and this small piece is the pawl. When the pawl is pushed up, it spins the rotor and then comes back down. You can see how this would spin it in only one direction. This up and down motion will keep spinning the rotors, 1 slot each time. The next 2 rotors work a little different. Let's take a look at the second one. Most of the time, the pawl can't make contact with the ratchet gear teeth. It's blocked by an edge around here on the first rotor. The first rotor has a tiny notch around the side here. When the rotor spins, the notch travels around the edge. Watch what happens when it comes up again on the other side. The pawl will fit right into the notch and the second rotor is allowed to spin, but just once. The next time it will be blocked again and only the first rotor is allowed to spin. That edge on the first rotor has to go all the way around before the second rotor is allowed to spin again. This will happen once every 26 key presses. The same thing with the third rotor. There's another edge on the second rotor that has to go all the way around before the third one is allowed to spin. Last but not least, we have the 3 levers on the very back with index wheels at the very end. They ride along the outside of the rotor gear teeth. This means that the rotors always stop spinning at the next number. This is important so that the electrical contacts always line up between the rotors. Before you use the Enigma machine, it would need to be configured with the right settings. There are 4 of these settings to go through. First is the rotor order. Each Enigma machine came with a set of 5 rotors. Choose 3 of them, and then choose which order to put them in. Then there's the ring setting for each rotor, which is basically the shifting of these number wheels, but that also includes the notch on the side. This means this will change when the leftmost rotors can be advanced to the next number. Then there's the starting position for each rotor. You can set this through the tiny windows up here. And the final setting is the configuration of the plug board at the very front. So everyone in the German army had these settings in advance. They were distributed out by paper so they would know which settings to use on which day of the month. Even if the opposing side has their own Enigma machine, they won't be able to read the messages unless they know the settings that were in use that day.